Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Real Pod. I'm so excited about this episode because I get to talk all about being a maid of honor, share my advice as a former bride, former bridesmaid, now maid of honor. I've really done it all in the bridal world. If you will ever be a bride, a bridesmaid, or a maid of honor, this is the episode for you because I have played all three roles and I'm going to tell you exactly how to show up for your friend on one of the most important days of their life. I'm talking the basic bridal etiquette, the details. I'm going to tell you how I have been mowing. Can we make that a verb, please? I think we're going to make it a verb. And just ensure you feel confident and like you have support in this role because it's a big undertaking, which is the first thing I want to talk about. When you are a maid of honor, it's a big responsibility. And I think there's a lot of unspoken expectations. You get maybe a cute little bridal box or a gift that says, will you be my maid of honor? And it's so exciting because it is literally an honor, but there isn't really like a paper that comes with it and says, oh, and here are all the things I'm hoping that you'll do for me, right? Fortunately, and as you will know if you've listened to Real Pod and followed me for quite some time, I'm a type A human being. So I love this shit. Honestly, like being a maid of honor, it feels like I was born for it. That's Aubrey and I's joke. On the other hand, Aubrey being type B, which will proudly say herself, I don't want to say it didn't come naturally for her because she absolutely slayed it, but like Aubrey rose to it and absolutely dominated, but it's not something she like yearns to do. Does that make sense? And that's why I feel like our friendship is so strong. We're like really yin yang in that way. Aubrey was my maid of honor, and now it is my turn to repay the favor and be hers, which I'm just so excited about. It really is so special. It means your best friend is getting married and they found the person they want to spend the rest of their lives with, which is just, I'm a hopeless romantic. And like, honestly, is it so silly to say that there's like literally nothing more important than like the people that you love, your family, your friends, and a romantic relationship? Like to me, that's what life is about, relationships. And when two people get married, they're inviting the people that they love and care about the most to watch them give a lifelong commitment. They're literally saying, hey, will you come on this random Saturday and watch me promise to join lives and love someone else forever? Like it's cute and like crazy when you think about it that way. So I'm so happy for her. I love wood. So let's talk about this list that does not come in your maid of honor bridal box. There's so many expectations when it comes to weddings and all of that. And I did a few episodes about being a bride, and I'd love if you go check those out. We'll put them in the description. But my big disclaimer caveat will be, please try not to compare your journey through the wedding time, whether you're the maid of honor or the bride, to anyone else's. It's unique to you, and that's what makes it inherently so, so special. So the unspoken expectations that should come on a piece of paper, but don't, so I'll read them to you now, are the following. Being a maid of honor is a big time commitment. It means you will be the most attentive friend to the bride, emotionally, verbally. On wedding day, you're basically a personal assistant, and you are attending probably all of the events, the bridal shower, the wedding, and the bachelorette. You're also most likely going dress shopping. You're maybe going to a fitting. You're planning the entire bachelorette party. That's probably the biggest thing. It's like, hey, you're my maid of honor, and also will you plan a trip for 10 people? Like I literally never done that in my life. I felt so overwhelmed at first. I'm going to get into that, but you're literally planning a bachelorette party. Like that's a lot of pressure. I love the pressure of it, but it's a lot of pressure. And then you're also just the main support for wedding planning. You're asking questions. You're there to help choose cream or ivory. You're there to remember that she needs to have a something blue and ask her if she has her something blue or get her something blue for her. You're the liaison between the bride and the bridesmaids. Like this sounds so corporate, but you're literally like the messenger between the girl squad and the bride. You'll probably have to play bad cop. I've been at weddings and I've seen some maid of honors have to be like, I'm so sorry, but please remove your 5 chunky rose gold bangles. It's just not the day for that. And also you're giving a huge speech at the wedding, which I don't want to say I haven't started it because that's a lie. I have a notes page in my phone that's been going for, honestly, since the day Aubrey called me and I got that feeling in my chest that he's the one. I started a notes page in my phone and I wrote the date and I wrote the conversation and everything. And then since then, I've been writing down like little things. That would be my advice for giving a speech, whether you're a maid of honor or you're a bridesmaid or you're giving any sort of speech at a wedding, or it's your vows. I did this with my vows too. Start a notes page on your phone. And when little things come up, like for example, when I was writing my vows and I kept my notes page, I'd be like, the little ways he always takes care of me like after work. Whatever the little thing is that pops into your head that's cute, put that in, because when you sit down with a blank piece of paper and you have to write a speech about, I don't know, my 20 plus years of friendship with Aubrey, that feels really overwhelming. But when I have this whole notes page of little notes I've been taking for like a year, you kind of sit down and you have scraps to pull together. So that's what's helping me with the speech. And I would say those are the main things. You have the time, you're being attentive, you're at the dress shopping or the fittings, attending the events, planning the bachelorette, you're assistant on wedding day, you're a big support for the wedding planning process, you're the middle person between bride and her squad, and then you're giving a speech. That's a lot of things. But you can also view it as very, very exciting. Just, everything's perspective. And then for anyone listening who's a bridesmaid, I just want to clarify what I think the bridesmaid role would be compared to the maid of honor role. And I would say for bridesmaids, if you can go to dress shopping or fitting, if she invites you, I think that would be an awesome thing to make time for and go do. She might not. Some brides just want their maid of honor there, so there's less opinions, but I would say that's possibly one of the roles. I know Aubrey just went looking at bridesmaid dresses with corporate Natalie, which was super fun, who's a bridesmaid. So that was awesome that Natalie got to do that and support her, so Aubrey didn't go alone. I would also say bridesmaids are attending all of the bridal events, the shower, the bachelorette, and the wedding. I know that's a lot and it can really make those pockets hurt. So we will be talking about the finances and how to have those conversations if you can't attend everything. Don't worry. We're going to get into that later in the episode. So make sure you keep listening. I'm going to tell you how you can navigate those really sensitive conversations. Bridesmaids also should be supporting and checking in. Just a text once every 2-3 months can't hurt of, hey, how's the wedding planning process going? Or I'm just thinking of your big day and it's making me smile, or I'm so excited and I'm counting down till your wedding. And then also offering help to the Mo. I did throw that in there because the Mo needs help. And yes, I have gone out and said, hey, I would love if you can do X, Y, and Z thing to maybe a few of the girls, but also it would be so nice if a bridesmaid reaches out and says, hey, if you need any help, let me know. I'm happy to do something, because then it's like, okay, amazing. I know I have the support of them. And then I don't have to feel like I'm like making someone do something they don't want to do. So those would be my clarifications between maid of honor and bridesmaid. This episode is going to focus primarily on the role of the maid of honor. But if you're a bridesmaid and you do these things, you're going to be killing it. I just gave you the high level outline, but I'm going to talk about the nitty gritty logistics of how to really slay as a maid of honor. The first thing I'll say is that it's so special. If you genuinely love this person, I feel like this stuff can and should light you up, because you get to plan and make one of the most important years of their life, assuming it's a year-long engagement, really special for them. And I think when it comes to planning and weddings, we can either focus on the expectation and like hyper obsess over a future moment and how it should be, and that can cause anxiety, or we can come from a place of love and excitement and think, how can I just put thought and care into this in a way that I know will mean a lot to this friend of mine, which is something I'm keeping at the top of my mind. Going back to how Aubrey and I are kind of yin yang, I am very much like, I want to be extra. I want to wear all these outfits. I want to have all these themes. I want to be in my satin PJs with feathers on the side. Aubrey is like not that way. So when I'm planning her bachelorette, I'm not like, how can I put everyone in matching satin feather PJs? I just know it's not something she would want. On that same note, the energy, enthusiasm, and the attitude that you have throughout the process, I think is really important, because it helps level set the bride, allow her to feel excited, and to really center her in something that's so important and is approached for most people as once in a lifetime. What I mean by that is, as a maid of honor, I always like to just make sure I'm checking in. I'm asking her about wedding things so that she feels like she has someone to talk to, because for the bride, for the person planning their wedding, every single day they think about it. They're planning this really big, important party, and every single day they're thinking, what's next on the to-do? Should I do this? I got to make that decision. Like, for them, it really is the center of their world leading up to the day. For you, it's not. For all their other friends, it's not. You have other things going on in your life. But to them, it is. And I think realizing that is so important, so that you can show them that you're interested and you're a listening ear and you're a support system if they need you. So I'm always checking in and asking Aubrey about the wedding. I will say there is communication that comes along with that. And for example, about a month ago, Aubrey and I were talking about bridesmaid dresses, and my schedule was a bit more calm than it is now. And I was like, if you want, I can run to the bridesmaid store downtown and I can try on dresses and send you pictures if that would help you. And she was like, oh my God, yes, please do that for me. That would be amazing. Literally, I think the next day the fires broke out in LA and I completely lost track of like what I had committed to, what was going on. And then like literally 2 weeks later, I like finally felt like things were feeling a little bit more normal in my routine again. And I was catching up on work and all this stuff. And then like another week later, it's now been 3 weeks. I remember, oh my God, I never went to the bridesmaid store. Like rightfully so, a lot's been happening in the city. But instead of just being like, oh my God, I hope she doesn't remember. I hope she's not mad. Now I'm feeling really spread thin. I'm going on a bachelorette next week. And then I'm planning Max's 30th birthday. So I'm just feeling spread thin and like there's a lot on my plate. So I sent Aubrey a text that said this. I'll read it to you. Hi, bride. I just want to communicate on this so I don't drop any balls, etc. And I put a heart emoji. The soonest I could go to the bridesmaid store just because of my full work week and then Max's 30th and then I'm going out of town is after Valentine's Day in mid-February. Will that be okay? Question mark. What is the update with the dress you were thinking you wanted to go with and any other leads? Because if I should wait to go after you make a decision on those, let me know. Thanks. Love you so much. So in that, I felt like I was following up on something. I made an offer to the bride. I was communicating a lot's happened and now I'm kind of feeling spread thin. And I just want to let you know this is the soonest I could go. And just seeing like if it's still of importance to her. Because it was something I suggested. She didn't ask. And Aubrey responded and said, oh my gosh, no, don't worry. You'd be doing me a favor going, but it's not necessary at all if you're too swamped. And I said, okay, perfect. Just keep me posted on any progress with the lead dress. She has this dress she has been liking. And if you need anything from me, heart. And she hearted it. So I feel like this is a really healthy example of like, I communicated. She said, don't worry if you're feeling spread thin. And I took that at face value because I am really feeling spread thin. And I said, okay, perfect. Let me know if you need anything else. And of course, like if I have the time to go do that errand, I will do it for her. But I think this is just an example of like healthy communication. Like Aubrey is not expecting me to like drop everything and do tasks that are not outside the scope, but like it would be a 3-hour thing to go do that. And I have Max's birthday and then I'm going on this other trip. So I just love that we can have communication like that. And I do think if you're dealing with like a bridezilla type who would maybe be like, are you kidding me? Like you said that you would go and I can't believe now you can't go to February and I was counting on it, like whatever. It's tough because that it's almost like a personality of a person. And it can be really hard if you're the maid of honor or the bridesmaid to like get someone to see something differently. I feel grateful that Aubrey's like really level-headed and we both like have great communication as friends and like we work through things and there's like a trust there and like we know we both have the best intentions for each other. And actually, it's making me think of an example when I was the bride and Aubrey was the maid of honor. We had a communication disconnect that happened. And Aubrey like called me, I think a day or two later and was like, hey, I just wanted to chat because this comment that you made just like really didn't sit well with me. And it had to do with the bride maid of honor relationship is what I'll say. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so sorry. I'm so glad you called me. I know exactly what you mean. I felt weird after that came out of my mouth. It didn't sound the way that I intended it to sound. I'm like, so sorry. And she was like, I completely know like you weren't trying to hurt my feelings or, you know, whatever it was. I just wanted to let you know. And like, thanks for apologizing. And I was like, of course. And like, you know, we moved through that. And so I think like there are probably going to be times where, especially if you're a maid of honor and there's a bride and like you have a real ass friendship, like you're going to be having real conversations where you're either like humbling them or you're reminding them of something or you're trying to help them and it doesn't actually help. Actually, at my engagement party, I got super overwhelmed just because the whole thing was a surprise. Like I had no idea I was getting engaged that day and I had no idea 60 people were coming for an engagement party. And at my actual engagement party, I was just like, oh my God, like I just started to feel overwhelmed. And I literally was like, Aubrey, like, can we go upstairs real quick? And I literally pulled Aubrey up into my parents' attic, like not even in a bathroom because I didn't want anyone to walk in. We went in the attic and I was like, I'm just like freaking out right now. Like, tell me that it's okay. And like, I blah, 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 blah. Like I was freaking out about just feeling overwhelmed. And she was just such a good friend and maid of honor in that moment and was just like, you're fucking fine. Like, we're going to get a drink. Like, we're going to go to the corner. You don't have to say hi to everyone. Like, you know, she just like brought me down. And I think that closeness is really important. And that closeness means like great conversations and tough conversations. Okay, where was I? So now into dress shopping and maybe fittings. So I do think as the maid of honor, you do need to go to the dress shopping. And I think you should want to. I really think you should want to. I mean, you're seeing your best friend in the world try on wedding dresses. It's so exciting. Aubrey showed up for me in that way, and I showed up for her in that way. And it's really special. I want to talk about some of the important etiquette pieces I think don't get discussed enough about how to show up for your friend at a wedding dress try on. First of all, it's so important to remember that she has dreamed of this her entire life. I'm just talking from me and Aubrey. That's my experience. We've dreamed of these days our entire life, or you've at least thought of them. So when you wake up in that morning, it might be any other day for you. You might not have had a good night's sleep. You probably weren't looking at dresses the night before. For them, it is such an important day. This is the day they will try on a wedding dress for the very first time. This is the day they will possibly find the dress they're going to wear to marry their forever person. They're so excited. It's all they're thinking about. They don't want to hear if you're having a tough week at work. They don't want to hear if your dog is loving the new food that you gave it. Like, none of it is important. And you want this day to be a core memory for them. And I just worked really hard, and so did Aubrey, to kind of like protect those days and the specialness of those days. So when you walk into the bridal salon, can you be excited? Can you say, oh my gosh, and what kind of dresses are you looking for? And let me help look around the store with you. And yes, let me give you all of my attention and let me be present. And when she's in the dressing room, of course, you're mingling with the other people that are there. Maybe it's her mom, or it's another friend, or it's just you. When they're in the dressing room, fine, like you're off. You can quickly check your texts. The second that that curtain pulls back, all of your attention needs to be on the bride. I actually, like, Aubrey and my mom are like really close. And like sometimes I feel like they're like better friends than me. I'll be like, you guys need to stop. Like, my mom is stealing my best friend. And I remember when I was trying on dresses, I had to be like, you guys, please, like, because they just want to like keep talking and talking. And like but then you're there sitting in the mirror and you want to like just everyone to talk to you about if this is the dress or this is not the dress. So, for Aubrey's try-ons, it was me and her mom and her aunties, which was so fun. And I was just helping make sure that like we were all focused on Aubrey, and we were like, asking questions. Do you like the dress? How do you feel in it? Is it what you expected? What don't you like? And also giving her space to have an opinion first. I think that's important. I think when they walk out and someone says, ugh, I don't like it. What if that was like her favorite dress of the whole day? Like, just please bite your tongue until you can get a read on how they're feeling. That was actually one of the harder things for me, was knowing when to tell Aubrey, like, this is just not the dress like I see you in. It's just not you, versus like she loves something and I need to just like get on board because it's not about me and it's about what she wants. That was really tricky for me. And the way that I approached it was, I was never super, super transparent when she was in the dress and when we were in the salon. Like, we were at this one place trying on these dresses and she was really, really liking this one dress. And I was just thinking in my mind, like, this is just not her dress. I just knew it. And I think to say that to her could be so crushing. Like, she's wearing the dress and she's really loving it. And like anything in life, you're going to leave, you're going to sleep on it. I know Aubrey, and I know she's not trying on a dress and like buying it right there on the spot. She's going to sleep on it and call them the next day. So I know that there's time. I know that there's time after to talk to her about it and like maybe express more of my real opinion. So I waited for those moments. So I was supportive. I made sure not to say anything that I wasn't truthful, but I was maybe like, wow, this is breathtaking, or you seem like you're beaming in it, or I'm so curious, like what kind of veils go with this, like all positive probing questions. And then once we left, we're getting a coffee and I'm reading her and I'm seeing like how she's feeling, and I know her really well. So I'm like, honestly, like I still feel like that other dress from the other place is like, I just can't stop thinking about it. Like something like that. Not it's better and I'm making a definite statement, but I'm just saying I still kind of can't stop thinking about that dress, because when you're a bride, you know what it's like. You're in the stores and you are love bombs. You're like trying on a dress and you're like, oh my God, this is like so Carrie Bradshaw. This is so different. It's like never been done before. It's amazing. I love it. And then you go home and the next day you're like, who the let me put that dress on and like think it was actually gonna happen. Like, I feel like every bride can relate to trying on something and falling in love with it, then going home and looking at a picture being like, wait, no, I was unwell when I made that choice. So Aubrey and I started to like then laugh, and she's like, oh my God, I can't believe I liked that dress. And then I was like, no, literally it looked like a cake topper. Like it was not the vibe. And like we're laughing, and like then you can really be honest. And then when she finally put on the dress that she ended up choosing, like it just all felt right. Like I was just like, it's so her. Wood's gonna love it. Like it's perfect. You know it's right. So dance carefully around that stuff. But I think hopefully from that kind of story and anecdote I shared, you'll know how to navigate supporting her on the wedding try-on days. And then the last thing I'll say is take lots of pictures and videos. Lots of pictures and videos. She's not going to be on her phone. She can be trying on the dress. So make sure that you have your phone and honestly her phone. I used Aubrey's phone because she wants all the pictures and the videos. And I took pictures and videos of every single dress from every single angle so that after she left, she could go home that night and just look through all the pictures and the videos. So make sure you're doing that. And on that note, the one thing I'll say is I feel like at every event as a maid of honor, the word that's at the top of your brain should be helpful. It should be helpful. How can I be helpful at this dress fitting? How can I be helpful at this bridal shower? Should I grab a paper and pen and write down which gift is from who? So her thank you notes that she has to write later go faster. How can I be helpful at the wedding, in the bridal suite? Does she look like she needs water? Like, I just think always thinking, how can I help this situation is just going to be a great guiding word that if this stuff doesn't feel like it comes naturally to you, and you're maybe not super girly or you're maybe not super into the feminine bridal stuff, but you want to show up for your friend, like literally just think, how can I be helpful? Okay, now let's talk about finances because this is a really important, intricate, sensitive piece of the puzzle for everybody. And showing up for your friends when they're getting married can cost a lot. And I'm going to talk about how I am planning the budget and the expectations and working with Aubrey's bridesmaids for her bachelorette. Before I do, I want to spend some time talking about a situation where you might feel like I just can't spend the money on also going to the bridal shower. I just don't have it in my budget to go to the wedding and the bachelorette because she's doing a weekend somewhere else, whatever it may be. I think it's really common. It's really normal and understandable to just not be able to buy the dresses, buy the flights, buy the Ubers, buy the lunches and the drinks and show up and do these things. Hopefully, the bride and this friend of yours is someone who is grounded and level-headed and understands that finances are a really sensitive thing that is not personal and everyone approaches it differently and is in a different situation. And they have the ability to hold space for your situation. So how I would recommend kind of letting a bride down easy if you can't go to one of the events is, first of all, definitely a phone call or in person. I think that's the best way to do it. I've had a situation where I've had to choose between the bachelorette and the wedding for someone. Both of them were just going to be big undertakings time-wise, financially, and I just was not able to swing both with the other weddings I was also trying to show up for and work and the other things happening in my life. I personally think if you're having to choose between a bachelorette and a wedding, this is my opinion. It depends. It really depends. I also think I would approach it differently for every friend. But at the wedding, you're going to spend, it depends. If you're not a bridesmaid or a maid of honor, you're probably going to spend 5 minutes is generous with the bride, honestly. Like, you're not going to get that much time with them. It's the high and by and like watching and observing their big day, but you're not really a part of it. If you're a bridesmaid and you're going to be in the bridal suite and with them all morning, that's different. And maybe I would then choose the wedding over the bachelorette. But at a bachelorette, you get so much time with the bride. It's like probably 8 or 10 girls. You're at, maybe it's 2 nights or it's 3 nights or it's one big important day and you spend all 24 hours with them and you really like clock a lot of one-on-one time with them for this big day. So that's how I've approached it in the past, is just thinking about each day and which one I do think is most important for our friendship and like how I want to show up for them. So you're going to do it over the phone or in person. And I really think you have to just say something like, take this with a grain of salt because I'm riffing here, but something like, I love you so much. I am just over the moon for you being engaged to Jacob. You guys are the perfect couple. It makes me so happy to see you together. You deserve a lifetime of happiness and so much love. And it's just made me so happy to see you enjoying your engagement year and thriving. And I'm so glad I got to be at your bridal shower, or I'm so glad I got to be at your bachelorette, or I'm so looking forward to your wedding. However, as I go over my budget and what's possible for me this year between work and family and school, or, all the different ways I'm trying to show up for the people I love in my life, I'm realizing that prioritizing your wedding, prioritizing your bachelorette, prioritizing whatever it is what's possible for me, because I love you so much and I want to make sure I'm a part of this really special year for you in some way. And I think that phrasing is like, you're keeping it positive. They understand the through line of what you're saying. And you're also like kind of the letdown's easy because you're not saying, and I can't make this thing. You're like, and I am going to prioritize or show up in a big way for you on your bachelorette or on your actual wedding day. I would also add that if you're not able to like make a bachelorette trip, I think it goes a really long way to say, but I would love to take you to a manicure pedicure the week before and hear all about how excited you are and like send you off on your trip. Or I would love to take you out for a really special dinner and drinks when you get home from the bachelorette to hear all about it. I do think it is classy and it's a good friend thing to do to offer up something smaller in exchange. Like treating them to a mani-pedi is like probably the fraction of the price of what it would have been to like buy a flight to go somewhere and then buy whatever else is on the other side of that flight. So I think that that's really classy. And I think you should follow up on it because I think there's nothing worse than saying you would do those things, but then not taking the lead or actually following up after the bachelorette or, to schedule the manicure pedicure. So make sure you see it through. Also on this note, I know of people who've unfortunately had friendships shift in a really big way because someone could not make a bachelorette. And that's really sad because to think about like all these years of friendship and this relationship that really is so special for it to, I don't know, just be tainted or fizzle in some way because of like a lack of communication and or an inability to recognize that people have different values. They just do. Max and I have been talking about this a lot the past few months because I think as you get older, everyone starts to have different priorities. You start to prioritize the partner you choose. You start to prioritize family. You start to prioritize work. You start to prioritize, I don't know, your self-care, your regimen, your routine. Everyone just starts to grow in like different ways and have different values. And just because your values are different from someone else's doesn't mean yours are right and theirs are wrong. And I know that that's really hard. And that's been a hard thing for me. I think especially with weddings, like I had certain values around my wedding of how I was going to plan it, how I was going to go about it, who I wanted there. Some people have a first look and they do their vows intimately. Some people do it in front of all of their guests. Some people have a rehearsal dinner and they invite the extended family and the cousins. Other people do it with just the bridal party. All of these things net out differently for people. Like there might be an Aunt Sally Sue who thinks, I was at your baptism. I was there your whole life and I'm not invited to your rehearsal dinner. And someone else might think, I just don't think it's that important to have Aunt Sally Sue or the extended cousins at whatever. Everyone nets out differently. And weddings is when things have to sift to the surface and it just kind of becomes black and white and it's unfortunate. You're drawing lines in the sand, who you're inviting, who you're not inviting, who's important to you, who's not that important to you. That's just part of this. And I think making sure you navigate it in a really mature way with as low and little ego as possible is huge. I'll wrap this up by saying, if you don't get the text back or the response back in the conversation you're hoping that you'll get, and they're really upset and they can't believe it and they went to yours or whatever, and they don't understand that you have a kid now and you're pumping and you can't leave the kid, whatever the situation is, I think you need to try to be slow to anger and abounding in kindness and empathy. That's one of my favorite quotes. Be slow to anger and abounding in kindness, and just try to be the bigger person and just respond with love and know that this bride is probably just, they're in the throes of something and they can't see it the way that they see it now. And that hopefully one day they will, and you'll be able to forgive and not hold it against them that they didn't understand your financial situation or they didn't understand your XYZ. I think the more kindness and like compassion we can have for someone, we all make mistakes. We all send texts we regret sending one day. We all deliver things in a way that we wish we could have said it better. I think having that space is really important. And one day they might see it differently. And I've been in those situations and I've seen them work out great and I've had to work through them. And just trust that it all will work out. Now that we've gotten that intense but very important stuff out of the way, I want to finish with the bachelorette. This is maybe the biggest undertaking, I think, for the maid of honor, other than delivering the speech in front of the entire wedding, which is lots of pressure. You are planning the bachelorette. I touched on this at the top, but for me, Aubrey is doing a bachelorette trip, and we are having 9 girls total, and it's really exciting, but it is also planning a 3-day extravaganza for a group of 9. I've never planned anything like that before. If anything, as I've begun the process, I've texted Aubrey like, oh my God, I am so impressed that you did this for me at, I think we were 24. Like, I'm 27 now. I feel like more of a woman between the years. But like, Aubrey's like, no, Victoria, she was like, I had no idea what I was doing, but I was like, I'm going to slay this. She goes, I was literally at work with like 3 monitors pulled up of like Excel spreadsheets, itineraries, details, documents. And my bosses would be like, you're so hard at work. And I'd be like, yeah, I know. And I was just like planning your bachelorette. I'm like dying laughing. And it's been fun because I'll text her like for advice because she was the maid of honor before me. So I'm like, did you reach out to all the girls and ask for this before or after, right? Stuff like that. So in order of operations, this is how I approached planning the bachelorette. The first thing was that I felt overwhelmed, but then I worked through that and I remembered that I was born for this. I'm going to slay it. Positive thinking. And also, there's no way it can go poorly. If I'm putting in effort and energy and thought and care and love for Aubrey, it's going to be a success. The first tangible thing is helping the bride settle on the location. Where is she doing it? When is she doing it? How long is it? Is it a night? Is it a weekend? What's the vibe? After that, you narrow down the guest list, who is invited on the bachelorette. Then I wanted to get clear on Aubrey's involvement. So does she want to be involved? Does she want to help choose dinners? Does she want me to send options and she can approve them? Does she want to tell me what she wants? Or does she want to just say, you do it and surprise me? Aubrey and I are both you do it and surprise me type of gals. So for mine, I said, I just want to do it in Cabo. And these are the gals I want to come, and just whatever you do, I'll be happy with. That was the vibe. She killed it. And I just didn't want to have to think about it because with the wedding, there's so many expectations. So I was like, I just want to show up in Cabo and be like, I don't know, bring me along to whatever we're doing. It was amazing. And that is what Aubrey wants as well. So I have free reign, which is very exciting. After that, I just wanted to make sure there weren't any major things that Aubrey was hoping for or wanting that I would miss. For example, like, do you want to go clubbing? Do you want to be going out every night partying? Would you rather be in at the Airbnb and having a PJ night and doing spa stuff? Like, everyone's different when it comes to their bachelorette. So I just made sure that I chatted with Aubrey about like, how many nights you thinking you want to go out overall? Like, you know, getting kind of her pace for that. Then I got dates from all the girls. So I sent an Excel spreadsheet with all the available weekends that worked for Aubrey. And I sent out like 10 weekend options to all of her girls. Only one weekend worked for everyone. So that ended up being our selector. And then I booked the place to stay. So I did that with Aubrey. I sent her options of Airbnbs. I recommend if you're doing a trip somewhere that an Airbnb is the way to go, because I think you can find Airbnbs that net out to be the same price as it would be for a hotel. And I think the Airbnb makes it feel like really communal, and you can run into each other's rooms and you can get ready together. And it just feels like awesome, and you have a home base. And I just think you get more one-on-one time with everybody. So after we chose the Airbnb, I booked that, and then I worked on the itinerary. So for the itinerary, I was just like, this is the bones of the trip. Like, what time are we arriving? What time is check-in to the Airbnb? Are we going to do a dinner that night? And where would we do the dinner? The next day, do we want to have a slow morning? Do we want to go on a walk? Do we want to have an activity? Do we want to do a PJ games night? Do we want to do another dinner? Like, I just kind of looked at the days, the check-in time, the checkout time, thought about what Aubrey wanted, and thought about like, you know, how I want to map this out. And I made a lot of those decisions by myself. And then after you think through the itinerary and you think about the actual logistics, then you move on to the themes, the decorations, the customizations, and then you can assign roles to bridesmaids if you need help. But usually at least like 2 girls will text you and be more of like her closer friends that aren't the maid of honor, but really want to help and be involved. And then like they'll help you. Okay. Huge part of this is the budget. So I made sure to create an Excel spreadsheet that had a projected budget. Aubrey had done this for mine. So she actually just sent me the budget from mine. And then I was able to use that as a gauge for like, okay, dinner for 10 people at this restaurant might cost around X amount of money. Divide that by the girls. And then like I kind of mapped out everything. And I, reserved like $300 for decorations, like, and I divide that by all the girls. So we're all chipping into this pool of $300 that goes to the balloons or the cookies or the whatever it is. And then I thought of the little details like texting Wood, hey, would you want to pick up the shots this night or do this little thing for all the girls? It's a sweet gesture. And, if he says yes, perfect, then that expense now is removed. Looking for ways I can really create a well-predicted budget so that the girls don't leave this trip like with this giant expense or this payment that they weren't ready for. I want to make sure everyone feels comfortable. So that spreadsheet is sent in an email to all the girls, including a lot of the other things like the itinerary and the themes and whatnot, so they can be prepared. I'm doing all this 4 months in advance. I think that that's plenty of time. I think the longer you wait, the harder it is for everyone to get ready and like prepare for this thing. One little thing I forgot was girls booking flights. So the minute we chose the weekend, I asked Aubrey if she could book her flights because her timing is the most important. Like we all want to time up with when the bride gets there. And then I sent those to the girls and I said, hey, this is Aubrey's flight. Like would love if you guys have a chance to book your flights and you can send me your itineraries. And then I can put that into the Excel spreadsheet because that would also help me with the budget, but also help me with the pickup because I'm organizing, a van to get all the girls from the airport at the same time. Aubrey has the most amazing friends in the world because when I tell you that every single girl booked their flight the day I sent that text. How crazy is that? I literally texted her and I was like, not only are your friends punctual and like giving such ride or die energy, you have a bachelorette to Cabo and they all book their flights the day of. Like so sweet. Anyways, back to the budget spreadsheet. So I sent that out in an email with the itinerary, the themes, the info. And then I also, of course, wrote like, if you have any hesitations or concerns, please reach out to me on the side. I'm happy to work with you and make sure that we find a place that feels really comfortable for you. I also chatted with Aubrey, the bride, to be like, hey, what are you comfortable with like asking your friends to be spending on your bachelorette? Because I think that's important for me to know like what her expectations are. And then also something I included in the email was like, and Aubrey is willing, ready, and eager to repay the favor like when it is your time. So all of Aubrey's friends have not gotten married yet. So I think it's nice to add in like what goes around comes around. Like the money you put onto Aubrey's bachelorette, she's spending it onto you. It's like the money, girl math. It doesn't really exist. It's like Monopoly money. I'm going to give you Monopoly money for your batch. You're going to give it back to me for my batch. And like, we didn't spend money, right? So I threw that in the email because I think it reminds the girls like, we're all going to do this for each other. And then I also try not to add like unreasonable things that just make it more difficult, like making people buy expensive matching outfits or making people buy, everyone needs to have a green bucket hat. I mean, that's just like, come on, like I don't want to cause more work to people. So I made sure that like the themes that we were doing and the vibes were within reason, like, and that there was really rarely any needing to go out and buy anything for this bachelorette. So that was something I kept top of mind too. And then the last thing I'll say about planning the bachelorette is like finding ways to personalize it to the bride. I think when I really sat back and I was like, what would Aubrey love? Like what would make Aubrey so happy or feels like custom to her? What are the little things that she loves? Like, I don't want to give those away because I don't want to give away the bachelorette stuff. So if we talked about myself, it'd be like, well, Victoria loves matchas. Victoria loves going on a walk. She loves Taylor Swift. Let's have Taylor Swift playing when she arrives. She loves this type of cake. She loves this type of drink. Like her favorite drink is a strawberry margarita. So let's have strawberry margaritas. And let's have a little, like, think about the bride and the little ways you can make her happy. And it's a really unique celebration for her and her partner. Okay. That was a lot. I hope that you're feeling like you have support, guidance, tools, tips, tricks, all these fun little things that'll help you on your journey as a maid of honor. I want to close by reminding you that at the end of the day, it's not about everything being exactly perfect or Instagram worthy or being a competition with so-and-so or XYZ thing. It's really just about showing up for a friend that you love and care about so much for one of the most, if not the most important day of their life. And I think that That's something joyous for them. It's something joyous for you. It's what truly matters. And I feel really honored to be a maid of honor. And I can't wait to share more with you about this journey. Aubrey's going to come on the podcast and talk about her wedding planning and being a bride. So we have that coming up. You'll see the bachelorette on my Instagram. It's happening in April. So stay tuned. And we still have quite a few ways to go until her big day in October. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this episode helped, and I'll see you next Wednesday.